and then they hit you with this thing, and it's the guy with the biggest muscles that does it. Your backside is ripped to pieces, and you can get anywhere between inside the prison. So just if you do something wrong inside the prison, you can get 6 strokes of the rattan. You know, if you tattoo yourself or you tattoo somebody else, you're probably going to get 3 or 4 strikes for that. But you might get 6 to 12 strokes awarded by the court, and then the prison can give you up to another 6 more as well. So 12 strokes, the pain is going to knock you out. And then you've got the whole issue of how do you stop the bleeding, which, is tough. One of my cellmates one time had 6 strokes, and the first thing that they do, obviously it's Singapore, so it's hot, so you get an hour outside, you go and sit on the floor and you try to cauterise it that way. There's not a great deal of help from the medical people within the prison.
What happened to the guy with the origami?
The origami story, that was there was a remand prison, right? I was never in it. But so there's 2 stories there on that remand prison one. There was one young Chinese guy. You have nothing in the cells, absolutely nothing, right? So there's 4 walls. You sleep on the floor, and you probably have a spoon and a small piece of towel to dry yourself if you manage to get a shower as well. But this young lad, he found a piece of paper, or he got himself a piece of paper. And he decided to make an origami figure. So the guards came in. The next day. They caught him with this origami piece of paper, give him a bit of a going over, and took the piece of paper away and thought that was it. The next day he's got another piece of paper, does it again. They don't like that. So there's no toilets in the cell, but you have a hole in the floor, which is where you go to the toilet, obviously, and where you shower. And so on the second occasion, when they caught him with the origami, they decided to stick his head down the toilet bowl or down the hole, start flushing it, and the kid died. So so there used to be, if you listen to the other inmates, there used to be a lot of guard on inmate violence. But but when I arrived, these guys had been put on trial. So the guards had been on trial. One of them got 6 years, one of them got 8 years, and then the guy who was in charge of that little group of guards, he got 10 years. So they were all in the same prison that I was in. So it's true. You're seeing them every day. Obviously, they're not kept apart, but there's people watching that they're okay. But I didn't really see any violence against them. But the prison I was in, like I said, it was maximum security. It was fairly new, CCTV cameras everywhere. There weren't too many blind spots. There were 1 or 2, but. The other story from that remand prison, this was exactly the same time. So you've got the English guy who was hung probably 3 or 4 months after I arrived back in Singapore. The other big case at the time that got lots of international attention is there was a 16-year-old American kid keyed a few cars, and you were talking to me about your car being keyed on the way here, but he keyed a few cars around a certain area of Singapore, got caught. They took him to trial. He got 6 months in prison, and he got 4 strokes of the rattan. So Bill Clinton, who was the president of the US at the time, stepped in and asked them to commute it, which they wouldn't do. So he spent his time in that remand prison. He never came to the prison that I was in, but I do think that, or the story that used to go round the prison was that they reduced the number of strokes and they didn't hit him that hard. So I don't know where the kid is now, but maybe he didn't get the full weight of the rattan.
Wow. So that's a 10-minute snippet of where we're going, folks, but we're going to go back to the beginning now and find out how the hell do you lose over $1 billion for the Queen's Bank and end up incarcerated like this. Was it Watford you grew up in?
Yeah, I come from Watford originally, so I grew up on a council estate in Watford. My dad was a plasterer, my mum did a bit of nursing type care type work, and just normal kid really. Was always looking to be successful. I think that was the thing that was my main driver throughout those years. It was the thing that probably drove my mum on as well. She always wanted me to do better than she had. It's that classic working class example where your parents want you to have a little bit more than they had. Maybe move up from working class to middle class or however it goes. But I was driven and I wanted to be successful. And, I was very successful at school, little bit of an overachiever up until about the age of 13, 14 when I was at senior school. But it wouldn't be the roughest area in the world that I grew up in, but it wouldn't be the safest either. Going to school every day, we used to have to go past a couple of other senior schools. There'd always be a bit of trouble. That was always around. But I think I would describe it as a normal childhood. I don't think there was anything lurking in the background at that time that meant I was going to lose a load of money in the markets and cause the collapse of a bank. But
so you hadn't been introduced to the stock market at a young age?
No, I wouldn't have.
No,
I wouldn't have known what it was. Yeah. Growing up in those sort of environments, I think my mum always, and I joke about this. She always wanted me to have a stable career. She wanted me to have more money than she had, and those were the targets, if you like. And going back, and this is probably back even into the 80s. I started to work in the city in 1985. So, my mum would have been thinking, it'd be great if it get a job for life. That was kind of the phrase, wasn't it? And so if I got a job in a bank or a law firm or an accountancy firm, that was kind of it. You were made, coming from that working class environment, if you like. And unfortunately, I touched on them all in one way or another, and definitely not in the way that she would have wanted me to. I worked in a bank, I was prosecuted, and it was fraud. So, I struck the three areas that she wanted me to, but not in the way that she wanted.
So where were you at when you finished your education?
At the age of, so probably the age of 17, 18, I was fairly switched on with maths and stuff like that. My maths teacher got ill. He was the deputy head of the school that I used to go to, which was, it was an old, it was a school from London, from the East End of London, that moved, like a grammar school from the East End of London that relocated to Hertfordshire. It was only the second year that they'd actually been in Hertfordshire. They're one of the best schools around that area, but they probably made do with a few people in those first couple of years. But like I said, it was a bit of an overachiever. The maths teacher got ill, so we had all these substitute teachers that used to come in, and I just took the opportunity and I didn't bother going to the lessons. I thought I'd be able to catch up, and I failed my maths A-level. So I couldn't catch up, and I applied for a job. The plan was to go to university. That was definitely the plan. So I was doing 3 A-levels at the time. I think I was doing English literature, history, and maths. I got the other two. I failed the maths one. I applied to a bank called Coutts and Company at 440 Strand, which is actually the Queen's Bank. That's where the royal family. They've got a branch called Buckingham, which is where they all keep their money, and they've got various accounts. Like bizarre stuff. They've got accounts for the corgis and all that sort of stuff. It's just weird. And there's a part of it called Coutts Finance, where all the money goes on deposit every night. So they have to phone in from Buckingham and tell you how much money is going on deposit and stuff like that. But I got offered a job. It was even difficult to get an interview, right? But for some reason, I got an interview. There's probably 50 people who applied from my school. I got an interview, and that was my first sort of experience, not even of the stock market. This was just experience of banking and private banking. It was a different world. It was different people. If you didn't have £1 million in the bank, you didn't have an account at Coutts. We used to have some real funny stories. There were lots of very famous people who banked there. I remember one of the famous stories that that I was told about at the time. Spike Milligan, you remember Spike Milligan, comedian, very eccentric character. He used to be a customer of the bank, and they used to have these big, sort of, not banquets, but really nice dinners that they'd invite some of their best clients to. And so Spike Milligan was invited one time, and he sat under the dinner table throughout the whole dinner. Didn't converse with anybody else, and then when he was leaving, he said to them the next time, just put the money in my bank account. I don't want to come. I'll just put, don't forget me, type of thing. But yeah,
what other celebrities?
Well, it was more people that were very, 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 very wealthy in the UK. There was lots of people. I mean, a Coutts checkbook, it's fairly fancy. And if this will make you laugh, but if you got a Coutts checkbook out, you didn't, like you used to have a bank guarantee card. The shops would say, "Oh no, you don't have to worry with the bank guarantee card." But as staff members of the bank, we all had a Coutts bank account as well. So it was great. You'd go around, there was a branch called St Giles, which is the staff branch. So if you see somebody with a Coutts check, you immediately think this person's loaded until you see the St Giles part, and then they're just a staff member. But just like any bank, I suppose, if you've got customers that are worth a lot of money, when things go wrong for those people, we used to bounce Coutts checks, and normally it's a lot of money that you're bouncing them for when they do. So, but it was a great time. That was my entry into the City of London, I suppose. I worked at 15 Lombard Street, which was right in the heart of the city. I didn't choose 15 Lombard Street. Somebody at Coutts decided that's where I was going to start, and then you're slap bang in the centre of the stock market, really, and all of that. Everywhere's a bank. You go back into Lombard Street now, and there's restaurants and there's nightclubs and God knows whatever else. But at the time, it was just wall to wall bank, and it was the Big Bang era. So it was a process of deregulation, lots of new banks coming into the city, and lots of opportunities for kids like me. I suppose came from the other side of the other side of the town, if you like.
Know what that means? Ooh, I've been hearing that a lot lately. That's what I hear when we make another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify is the commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide. Whether you're selling Pokemon cards or hoodies, Shopify simplifies selling online and in person so you can successfully grow your business. Covering all your sales channels, from a shop-front-ready POS system to its all-in-one e-commerce platform, Shopify even gets you selling across social media marketplaces like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Full of the industry-leading tools ready to ignite your growth, Shopify gives you complete control over your business and your brand without learning new skills in design or coding. And thanks to award-winning help and with an extensive business course library, Shopify is ready to support your success every step of the way. What's lovely about Shopify is that no matter how big you want to grow, Shopify will be there to empower you with the confidence and control to take your business to the next level. It's time to get serious about selling and get Shopify today. This is Possibility, powered by Shopify. Sign up for a £1 per month trial period at shopify.co.uk/Sean, SHAUN, all lowercase. Go to shopify.co.uk/Sean to take your business to the next level today. Shopify.co.uk/Sean. Link in description box if you're watching this on YouTube. Thanks for supporting our sponsor. Back to the podcast. Cheers.
And it was really this oasis of opportunity.
Which is an interesting point, because I applied to be an investment analyst at several of those banks, and I did get some job interviews. And coming from a working class town, when I'm sat there about to go in for the interview and speaking to the other lads, I've just flown in from Switzerland for the interview kind of thing. How did you integrate into that?
It's probably been. I think if I look at my life in a nutshell, Sean, I think the thing that I've always found easiest to do, and the thing that I think has got me into places that have been of great benefit to me, but have also been of great issue to me, is that I'm very socially adept, right? So I can, my mates were all working on building sites. They were postmen, they were delivering letters, but they were my mates, and I loved them. And those were the people that were really the backbone of my life, if you like. And I still see them today, and we still have the same sort of talk. And but I was working in the city, and for me, the city was just a job of work, right? My mates were at home, and they were the guys that I was going to go out with and socialise and have fun with, and probably have a bit of a scrap with every now and again. But Monday to Friday, I was in the city, and I had to get on with these people, because if I wanted to succeed, I had to speak to Quentin and Tarquin, and maybe go and play Crown Green bowling with them on a Thursday evening, which we don't have Crown Green bowling in Watford, certainly not on the council estate I came from. So, it was two different worlds. And, I was very socially adept and able to work both of them. Sometimes when I say that, I think it makes me sound a little bit psychotic, but that wasn't the case. I kind of...
You're a chameleon.
I wanted to succeed. And the way to succeed is... I could sit with these people, and they'd all think we were best mates, but I just couldn't wait to get away from them. That was great 9 to 5, but you're never going to be my pal. My pals are back home in Watford, and these are people that have grown up, and I know and I understand, and they're the same as me. Whereas you're not really. Like you said, they came from Switzerland, or they went to different schools, and there was a couple of people that kind of transgressed that over the years, but not too many. And they would have been, closer to centre rather than one of the outliers. So, I can count on probably, I was going to say one hand, but that may be too many. But, I can certainly count on less than one hand the number of people that would have stayed in touch from that time, that you would have wanted to stay in touch with. Most of the guys that would be within that number of people who worked on the open outcry floors, and they were kind of, they were always characterised as barrow boys, and a bit different from everybody else who worked in the city, but they were more like you. Do you know what I mean?
Before we get to them, what was your entry level position, and how did you rise up the ranks?
So at Coots, everybody starts in. I can't even remember what the area was called now, but you're going through that. Like checks would, like in the modern day and age, like checks are things that people don't understand anymore. But we would have to process checks, so you'd be keying in the checks through the different accounts, and just basic admin stuff. You then look at so we'd bounce checks as well. And the bouncing of the checks would be done by somebody who was a little bit more senior. So it was kind of an operations type role, but fairly very menial, and very entry level type of stuff. I can't think of anything there that was, but it was a good environment, and everybody got along. We had a laugh. We had to wear tails. So, like things and a waistcoat like yourself. So you would have fitted in. You had to be clean shaven. You weren't allowed to, you weren't allowed to grow a beard or anything like that. That was the rules. And then more often than not, you'd forget to take the tails off when you were going out for a beer at lunchtime, and you'd look a complete prat in the bar that you went to. But everybody knew that you worked. Everybody knew that you worked for Coots at that time. But there was plenty of drinking, lunchtime drinking. Going back and probably not operating at the same speed in the afternoon. But it was an enjoyable time. And as I said, it was, there was lots of opportunity because there was lots of banks opening up at that time.
Yeah, I did a summer job at Barclays, and I think it was like putting stamps on envelopes and filing checks and things like that. So how did you progress then? What was your...
Well, I was doing well at Coots. I got on well with everybody, and started to work my way through those operational type roles. Then you move into a loan department where people are looking for loans. I did a bit of work at a part of the firm which was called Coots Finance, which was involved in some of those loans. But I was moving on fairly quickly. You know, when you used to get off at the tube at bank, you used to get these magazines. I think they were called Time Out, and they used to have a few short stories in them. But during that particular period, sort of 85 to 87, they were just inundated with jobs because there were banks looking for people all of the time. So you could just, as you got off the tube or as you were on your way home, you'd look through and there'd be, you know, a job that was fairly similar to yours that was offering maybe 3 or 4 grand more, but it was for